And when we get the turn signal out, it will look like this with the wire. One thing I should mention too is that you want to make sure that you keep track of the right and left side, because your wiring harness here, which connects to the turn signals, will flash the wrong turn signal if you hook the wire, or if you mix the turn signals up side to side. So keep that in mind. And I also want to mention that now I'm not following the instructions anymore, so anything could happen. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to bolt the light bar on, and we have two bolts here. We'll go right there and right there. Another thing that I think, another reason for me to leave the lights out is if you break these lights, they're very expensive to replace. So I'll go ahead and get this bolted on. And here's a new development. I never read the instructions, but to space this light bar out, we will use the enclosed spacers and the new bolts. So we'll continue on and try her again. Okay, and so now you can see I have the light bar mounted with these two socket head cap screws. The light bar comes out here, and I have my passing lights here. The next thing I'll do is I will adjust these passing lights, and I'm going to compare them to where my headlight is sitting right here. And so I think that will, number one, keep the lenses out of the area here of where they could potentially get broken, and I can adjust them with the light bar and adjust them according to the headlight here. So the next step will be to tighten both bolts. Okay, so you're probably saying, you know, how can I make sure my lights are pretty well centered and, you know, they look straight and stuff? And so here's the method I'm going to use. Is I'm going to take this level, and I have this passing light set right where I want it, and so I'm just going to lay it across this passing light, and I'm going to move this passing light here up to the level, and then I will measure off this side of the headlight, and I will measure off this side of the headlight to the level. And if both distances here and here are equal, then you know you have this passing light here pretty well centered with this passing light here, and then you can go ahead and tighten that down. So maybe it's a little more technical than you need to get, but I like things done right, so I'll go ahead and do that. And now I have my passing lights adjusted pretty well much where I want them. What we'll do is we will take this red wire, which is the power wire going to the passing lights, and we will route that up right through here, going into the headlight. But the next step that I'm going to take is I'm going to put the turn signals on these little stub shafts here, and what I'm going to have to do is take my mechanics wire here and run it through the frame, or the light bar here, and pull the turn signal wires back through to the center, and then out through, up through the headlight. And I would think this would be a good time to just take a break and go down and have a Coke, sit down, and remind yourself how much fun you're having. Maybe you should call a friend and tell them you're just having a blast, because I think this is going to probably be the most difficult part, is fishing them wires. And so we'll give it a shot, and I'll let you know how it turns out. Okay, I actually have one of the turn signals on, and the wire didn't go too bad, pulling the wire. I have the wire pulled back up into the headlight here. And what I'm going to do before I connect them is I'm going to use this electrical connection. It's kind of a grease that inhibits corrosion. So before I plug these in, I think I'm going to quick coat those up. And now what I'm going to do is quick connect the battery, make sure I have nothing, no wires that will short out, and I'm going to test it to make sure that everything is good. So we turn the switch on and that looks good, and we will try the turn signal, and we're in good shape. So now we will attempt to try and feed the other wire. Okay, now we have the other turn signal on, and we will give that a try too. That one was a little bit more difficult. And let's see. Okay, looking good. And looking good. Okay, let's unhook the battery again and continue on. Okay, now I have the red wire pulled through. That's the hot wire right here. And we will hook that up to one of the headlight wires here. And depending on your state code, it says that some states allow passing lamps to be used with low beam, and some allow the passing lamps to be used with high beam. And so you'll have to check your state to see what your state code is. I'm going to hook mine up to the low beams. If you need to turn the passing lights off, there is a switch here on the side, so you can turn them on and off from the side if you want to. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and hook this wire up. Unfortunately, the connector that it said should be supplied with it is not with it, so I will have to hunt one up. But we will continue on there. And now we have the headlight back on. I have the red wire hooked up into the headlight harness there. And in putting on my headlight here, I couldn't get at the screws any longer. Fortunately, I had this offset screwdriver here, which worked miracles. And now the thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just double check the aim of my lights here. I can see I must have moved this one somehow, and so I'm going to get those back in shape there and then put the headlights in, and then we'll try it out. Okay, I think I'm done playing around trying to adjust these where I want them. I think that's going to have to be good enough. So the next step will be to put the passing lights in. And there we have the completed project. We have the headlights back on, and we're ready to try them out. So you may need to put some sunglasses on. That's what they look like, and with the little switch here on the side, you can turn them off if you want. And let's see here, I will turn them off. Being it's conveniently nighttime out, I'm going to go and give them a little trial run here to see how they improve the vision at night. And one last quick little note here. I want to thank Terry and Rachel for the use of their garage. Without it, I'd be putting these on in some cold, dark alley somewhere. So it turned out to be a much nicer experience because of their generosity. Well, I think I'm going to have to go out and give this a spin and compare it to not having the passing lights on. So I guess it's probably time to ride.